Break bulk operations the key point. Minimising transportation cost by maximising full load trunking distance and minimise local delivery distance. Minimum cost requires breaking bulk as close as possible to the customer and hence maximising the number of break bulk points. But minimisation of stock holding and storage costs requires the opposite. Thus, a requirement to break bulk without holding stock. Therefore, a requirement exists for cross-docking. So here we have the example of a cross-docking machine at Helsingborg, Sweden, whereby 1200 to 1800 pallets pass through this machine every day. At the end of the day, the machine is totally empty, and what it does, it mixes up pallets. Pallets come off a lorry, get mixed up and put back on a lorry again. This is breaking bulk without holding stock. Here we have a slide with some delivery routes showing drops round the central warehouse and their routes, and also a drawing of hub and spoke. Parcel companies like TNT and UPS have systems of hub and spoke. When a parcel travels, it goes from centre to centre, then comes off a lorry and goes on to the next centre to centre on its route. Eventually it comes off a hub and goes to a delivery van where the parcel is taken to the final customer. That's hub and spoke. Quite similar to a hub of an airport. Less warehouses gives you less trunk driving but more slow and very expensive local delivery stem driving. The amount of local stem driving is greatly affected by the number of warehouses in a given sales distribution area. So as you can see from this diagram, what you want to do is drive to a point, drop your parcels and drive back again. You don't want to spend all your time having large distances between each drop. Here we have a diagram which shows one-way stem distance and the cost per drop. On a one-day route, after a certain distance, the cost of each drop rises on a curve. On a two-day route, it goes out further, but then again the cost per drop rises as you go further out. So there's a trade-off between distance and cost per drop. Cost models for local delivery. This subject is quite simple. You can just think of it like being a bomber, and these factors are not hard to understand. The volume delivered per day, the vehicle capacity, the time available, the stem driving speed, typically 50 kilometers per hour, the inter-drop driving speed, typically 25 kilometers per hour, the number of drops, the distance from the warehouse to the first drop, the distance from the last drop to the warehouse, the distances between drops, the number of cases or units per drop, the unloading time per case or unit, for example 30 seconds per case, the paper processing time per drop, and extra time for unplanned hold-ups. These are cost models for local delivery. So here we have a picture of the 3.5 refrigerated box van used by Tesco Direct and by Sainsburys. And the question is, why was this delivery vehicle found out to be the ideal one for this particular application? TescoNet and Tesco's home shopping strategy as a summary. We cannot dictate the volume, the drop size of an order, or the average order value and profit. Maybe the containers sort of do. It's a delivery charge rather than a minimum order size. So they have to do a calculation based on the cost per drop using demographic data to work out what the economic delivery charge would be. Each vehicle comes equipped with a specially designed and built box body with 3 compartments carrying chilled, dry and frozen goods. The payload is 1,450 kilograms, fuel 27.6 miles per gallon. How many deliveries per load, how many drops per hour, how many kilometers per drop. And from this they can calculate the cost per drop. As I've said, Tesco and Sainsburys both use the same 3.5 tonne refrigerated box van, made by Iveco, Mercedes and Volkswagen. Now, should the order be picked via warehouse or store? By store, because the stem drives will be too long from a warehouse, thus too few deliveries per hour. Warehouse delivery demands a 10% market penetration, or the resulting average drop density and inter-drop distances are too long. Overall, customers wish to choose home shopping from the full SKU range. If it was done from a warehouse, they'd have to duplicate their warehouse system and have a lot more warehouses stocking the full SKU range. This is plainly not economic. In Tesco, home delivery from 240 out of 650 UK stores, serving 90% of the UK population. In Tesco, each customer is within 15 minutes drive time of a store, so effectively extended the drive time from 15 minutes customer drive time for a normal store to 25 minutes from van home delivery. So each van bomber goes out for a maximum stem drive, 25 minutes, drops its loads and goes back to the store. Cost models for trunking. The art of scheduling articulated trunking trucks is surprisingly maximising the time the tractor unit is doing useful work. This is achieved by organising return loads, by working 2 or more shifts, and by minimising turnaround times, including have more trailers than tractors in the system. Important constraints are the delivery time windows at the customers. The warehouses expect to have certain lorries unloaded at certain times and are managed in that and scheduled in that order. So delivery lorries have to come in within certain time windows, and that's a constraint in the schedule. The effectiveness of a given schedule can be assessed by dividing the total time into the following categories: time travelling with a loaded trailer, time travelling with an empty trailer, driver's non-driving activity time, and any delay time. You want to organise it such that a lorry is travelling with a loaded trailer as much of the time as possible. Obviously, if it's travelling with an empty trailer, it's inefficient. Here we have Paragon. Paragon is the most popular vehicle scheduling system in the UK. Systems such as Paragon, Roadshow and Visit Plus all provide a relational database with fixed costs and variable costs for each vehicle, vehicle speeds and capacities, and vehicle loading and unloading times. Secondly, there's a Gantt type scheduler for planning shifts and journeys, and this planning can be done automatically. And lastly, such systems provide detailed mapping. In very modern applications, GPS can show where the truck is on the map in real time. In 1992, Sainsburys had 4 own account depots and 17 third-party depots, i.e. Sainsbury didn't own their own network. It was a series of third-party contracts which allowed them to organise their own system. They did not own the system, they leased it. From Lowfield, Exel, Christian Salvation, McGregor Corey, Applied Distribution, Harris Cold Air, Tibbet and Britain, National Freight Transport, UCD and Vangan. So here we have from 2000 the operation and structure of Exel Logistics. Unfortunately, recently Exel Logistics has been taken over by DHL. Exel Logistics used to be very open in their operations on their Exel.com website. Unfortunately, DHL are very secretive and only publish a very scant amount of detail in their annual report. In 2000, Exel operated 7,400 vehicles with 13 million square feet of warehousing. They employed 26,600 staff and operated 471 distribution sites. They had a turnover of £1,700 million. A large operation indeed. This shows geographic balance and sector focus for Exel in 2000. Exel employed in 2000 55,000 in 1,300 locations in over 120 countries. Europe 2,154 million turnover, 84.1 million profit and 34.9 thousand employees, etc, etc, etc. Unfortunately now, as I said, taken over by DHL. Here are some example third-party operations. Lineside jet kitting for Nissan, just in time from Japan. Operating on the Seat supplier park in Spain. Operating on just-in-time Beetles made in Mexico. Consumer, operating with Procter & Gamble and Walmart in Kentucky. Operating with postponement for HP computer goods in Holland. Operating with Boots' own brand in Thailand. Doing home delivery for Daewoo white and brown goods. Operating an Argos call centre. Doing in-dealer car rental for Peugeot. And doing jet kitting and supplier owned for Hewlett-Packard Compaq in Singapore. And finally, Marks & Spencer joint retail logistics for Exel with Exel and Tibbet in Britain. Now, the key question is, what do third-party operators provide for the customer? Basically, they can operate such that the vehicle is more often loaded on both out and backward journey. If there's any seasonality at all within the loads of a customer, the third-party operator will seek to have a customer which is out of phase with the other customer, so that they can operate the lorries full in both directions. Also, in the warehousing side of it, seasonality means that a given size of warehouse for a customer will only be partly full through the year. Whereas if they have third-party warehouses, they can organise it such that the warehouse is fuller for most of the year. This is the edge which is resulted in the great rise of the third-party industry. So here we have finally a case study of Hovis McDougall from 1992, from David Taylor's casebook. Hovis McDougall and the 5 operating divisions did a study to discover whether using a third-party operator would be more economic than doing their own transport. The 3 businesses, McDougall's, Rance Hovis McDougall Ingredients and Pasta Foods, were considered to be ideal candidates for the exercise. At that time, the 3 distribution networks were all run completely independently. The main issue in the case is that of evaluating contract tenders, both in terms of cost and other factors, when the information provided by the different third-party distribution companies is not easily comparable. So here we have a graph showing the weekly number of pallets over a period of 12 months for McDougall average in yellow, rank Hovis McDougall Ingredients in blue, Pasta in red, and the average of the 3 in green. You can see it looks quite peaky. However, when the weekly peaks are expressed as a percentage of the annual weekly average, the overall average is virtually horizontal. This indicates that these 3 systems, if they were operated together, would not require the services of a third-party contractor, because the third-party contractor could not gain any advantage and thus reduce the cost to the customer by operating. There's no seasonality to justify the operation and use of a third-party contractor. And this here ends transportation. Local delivery transportation, stem driving, trunking transportation and third-party operators.